The Inner Battle. Mind versus Heart. An audiobook of transformation by Sami Bsoul. There's a quiet war happening inside you right now. It doesn't shout, it doesn't make demands. It simply whispers, and in that whisper, a battle is raging. On one side, the mind, logical and guarded, offering you safety. It tells you what's practical, what's sensible, what's right. It offers structure, comfort in certainty, even as it wraps itself in the chains of doubt, fear, and expectation. On the other side, the heart, soft, vulnerable, but relentless in its desires. It speaks in a language of dreams, passions, and purpose, asking for more than mere survival. It dares you to feel, to hope, to trust in something beyond what the mind can calculate. It pulls you toward a path you can't always explain, but one that calls to you with a deep, unshakable truth. And there, in the space between them, is you, torn, conflicted, suspended between reason and desire, certainty and uncertainty. How do you choose when both sides seem so sure? How do you move forward when your mind and heart seem to speak entirely different languages? What happens when they both push you in opposite directions, each demanding to be heard? This is the flow of decision. This is the inner battle we all face at some point in our lives. And yet it is rarely discussed, rarely explored. The struggle between what we know and what we feel can be paralyzing. It can leave us questioning our choices, doubting ourselves, and wondering if we're even capable of finding true clarity. But what if this battle isn't something you need to resolve? What if the real answer lies not in choosing one over the other, but in understanding the delicate, powerful interplay between them? This book is not about telling you what to do. It's not about giving you step-by-step instructions to solve the conflict between your mind and your heart. It's about exploring the tension, acknowledging it, and learning to walk the tightrope between these two forces. It's about seeing this inner conflict as part of a bigger picture, one where each step, each misstep, has its own value. In these pages, we will examine the forces at play within you. We will explore how the mind can protect you, but also limit you. How the heart can guide you, but also lead you into chaos. You will come face to face with the deepest parts of yourself, the parts you often ignore, suppress, or misunderstand. By the end of this journey, you won't have all the answers. You won't have a neat, tidy conclusion that tells you which side you should follow. But you will have something far more valuable, the freedom to trust both the mind and the heart, the wisdom to find balance, and the courage to make choices that align with who you truly are. So are you ready to listen to both? To step into the space between certainty and doubt and learn how to walk in the tension? Your journey begins here, not with an answer, but with a question. What happens when you finally allow both the mind and heart to speak together? Chapter 1. The Silent Battle. The Quiet War Within. It's the most personal battle you'll ever face. No one sees it, but it defines almost every decision you make, every step you take. This battle is silent, invisible, yet profoundly loud. It's the tug of war between what you think is right and what you feel is true. Your mind and your heart, two powerful forces, both essential to your existence, often pull you in opposite directions, leaving you suspended in a space of tension. Perhaps you felt it today. That internal conflict, that quiet fight that leaves you questioning whether you're doing the right thing or simply doing what others expect of you. Maybe it's a decision about your career, a relationship, or even the small, everyday choices that stack up to define the course of your life. The mind, with its logical processes, looks for safety. It seeks patterns, solutions, and predictability. It evaluates risk, weighs options, and provides you with answers based on reason. It is grounded in facts, statistics, and past experiences. It is the voice that says, "This is the practical choice. This will protect you. This is the way to success." The heart, on the other hand, lives in the realm of feelings, desires, and passions. It speaks a language of dreams, hopes, and yearnings. It calls you toward what makes you feel alive, what excites you, what aligns with your values and desires, even if those things don't always make sense on paper. The heart doesn't concern itself with risk assessments. It's driven by emotion, intuition, and a longing for fulfillment. It is the voice that says, "Follow your passion, live your truth. This is what you want." And so, you are torn between them. The mind argues that safety is the priority, that your security and well-being lie in the path of least resistance. The heart, however, yearns for more. It whispers that your soul will never be at peace until you honor what it craves. It's an invisible war, but it's one that leaves its mark. You feel it in your body, the tension, the tightness in your chest, the restless thoughts, the butterflies of anticipation when your heart speaks louder than the mind. And yet, the battle remains quiet, hidden behind the mask of your calm demeanor. You carry this battle with you, not as a war of right and wrong, but as a reminder of the delicate dance between the two forces. There's no final victory, only the constant negotiation between the mind's need for control and the heart's desire for freedom. How do you choose between two parts of yourself that both feel so certain, yet seem so different? That is the silent battle you face each and every day. Why we struggle to listen to ourselves. We live in a world that doesn't always make it easy to hear the voice inside. In fact, it often feels like the voices outside are louder, stronger, more persistent. Society, family, friends, media. These external influences can drown out the quiet whisper of your own inner truth. It's no wonder we struggle to listen to ourselves. From a young age, we're taught what is acceptable, expected, or successful. We're told what our goals should be, how our lives should unfold, and how we should think and feel about certain things. This is the right career for you. This is the person you should marry. This is what happiness looks like. But what if none of these things are aligned with what your heart truly desires? The mind, as much as it tries to be rational, is deeply influenced by external expectations. It looks for approval, security, and conformity. And the more we try to fit into molds, the less we hear the whispers of our hearts. We start to ignore the subtle nudges that might guide us toward a life that is truly ours. In essence, the more we look outside for answers, the harder it becomes to listen within. The fear of judgment, the doubt of whether we're capable, and the overwhelming desire to belong or be successful often overshadow our ability to listen to our deeper selves. But when you suppress the heart's voice for too long, you may find yourself in a place of disconnection, disconnected from your passions, your values, and ultimately, yourself. There is also the fear of failure. The heart might tell you to take a leap of faith, to follow an unconventional path, but the mind, ever the protector, reminds you of the consequences, the risks, and the unknowns. It tells you that failure is not an option. And so you remain in the safe, familiar territory, locked away from the very things that could bring you growth and fulfillment. The struggle isn't that you don't know what you want, it's that you're afraid of listening to it. The power of self-awareness. Self-awareness is the light that cuts through the fog of confusion. It's the key to understanding the internal battle you're facing, and the first step in finding peace. Without self-awareness, it's easy to get caught in a loop of reacting to life instead of actively shaping it. You may be aware of the pull between the mind and heart, but not why it exists or how to navigate it. You may find yourself making decisions that are influenced by others, or by fear, or by a desire to fit in, and later feel disconnected from the choices you've made. Self-awareness gives you the ability to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It allows you to notice when your mind is operating out of fear, and when your heart is calling you towards something deeper. The more you cultivate self-awareness, the more you can create space between the thoughts and feelings that arise, allowing you to choose consciously rather than react impulsively. It's not about silencing the mind or overriding the heart. It's about understanding both and knowing when to listen to each. Through self-awareness, you come to understand that the battle between the mind and heart doesn't need to end in defeat. It's not about silencing one or choosing one over the other. It's about embracing the wisdom of both. The mind offers clarity and structure, while the heart offers passion and direction. Together, they can guide you to decisions that are not just logical, but meaningful. The first step is awareness. Can you hear your inner conflict? Can you recognize the voices of both mind and heart and give them space to be heard? Once you can observe your own thoughts and desires without being swept away by them, you can begin to find the harmony that lies in the space between the two. Self-awareness is not just the key to resolving the inner battle. It is the path to living more authentically, more aligned with the truth of who you are. And when you begin to walk that path, you'll find that the war inside becomes less about conflict and more about collaboration. The mind and the heart can coexist, guiding you toward a life that feels whole. The silent voice within you. In the chaos of daily life, there is a soft, barely perceptible voice that comes from deep within. It's a voice that isn't loud. It doesn't scream for attention, and often it's easy to ignore. But what if this voice, this quiet whisper, was the most important thing you could ever listen to? It speaks not in words, but in feelings, subtle nudges, and fleeting moments of clarity. It's the voice of your true self, untouched by society's demands, free from the fears of judgment, simply seeking to guide you to the life that is most you. What if that whisper is not a fleeting thought, but the very essence of your soul calling you back to your truth? The mind may try to drown it out with logic, with to-do lists, with the weight of responsibility. But the heart knows. It knows what is meant for you, even when your mind doesn't understand it. This voice is timeless, eternal, and perhaps more familiar to you than you realize. It's the same voice that has guided countless people throughout history toward their calling. When you listen closely enough, it's not just a whisper. It's an invitation to become who you were always meant to be. Can you remember a moment when you heard this quiet voice and ignored it? What would happen if you trusted it now? When logic fails us. The mind, for all its strength, can sometimes fail us. Think of the countless times your mind told you to stay in a relationship or a job that no longer served you, simply because it was practical. Or the times your mind kept you from pursuing your dreams because they seemed risky, even though your heart longed for that very adventure. The mind's logic often fails us when it clings too tightly to what it knows and refuses to let go. It's in these moments that the heart rises, despite the logic of the mind. The heart pulls you toward a decision that feels right, even if it doesn't make sense on paper. It might urge you to leave a job, to travel, to speak your truth, or to love without conditions. Think about it. How often has your mind convinced you to play it safe, only for you to feel an undeniable emptiness afterward? Or worse, how often has your mind convinced you to stay stuck, to hold on to something that you knew deep down no longer nourished you? And then, when you finally took the leap, when you finally followed your heart, you found that the leap led to something beautiful, something you could never have predicted. Logic fails us when it becomes a cage. It fails us when we let it convince us that what makes sense is more important than what feels true. The heart, however, doesn't fail us. It may lead us down uncertain paths, but those paths often carry the lessons, the experiences, and the growth that logic could never provide. Consider the risk of staying in a safe life, only to realize later that it was never the life you wanted, or the leap of faith that brought you to a place of true fulfillment, even though it seemed irrational at the time. The heart doesn't care if the road is messy, if the outcomes are uncertain. It knows that life is meant to be lived fully, even if that means stepping outside of the fortress of logic. How many times has logic tried to convince you to stay safe, only for your heart to lead you to the truth you were afraid to face? The battle no one sees. There is a battle that rages within us, an internal war that is fought without fanfare or applause. It is the war between the heart's unspoken desires and the mind's carefully constructed defenses. The mind says, "It's not safe. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense." The heart says, "Trust, leap, live, follow me." The struggle is not loud, nor is it dramatic. It is quiet, internal, and insidious. It is fought in the shadows of your thoughts, in the tension of your chest, in the restless feeling that lingers even when everything looks fine on the outside. This battle doesn't take place with weapons, nor does it leave scars visible to the world. The wounds it leaves are invisible, buried beneath layers of uncertainty, self-doubt, and unspoken dreams. And yet, the consequences are profound. Every time you listen to your mind and dismiss your heart, something inside of you breaks. Every time you silence the heart's call for safety or certainty, you lose a little piece of yourself. This quiet war shapes everything: your relationships, your career, your happiness. How many times have you fought this battle in silence, hoping that one day you wouldn't have to choose? The truth is, you don't have to fight this battle alone. There is a way for the heart and mind to work together. But first, you must recognize the war that's taking place within you. What does this battle look like for you? What parts of you remain hidden in the conflict between what you desire and what you think is possible? Chapter 2. The mind's logic versus the heart's desire. The fortress of the mind. The mind, with its sharp intellect and calculated reasoning, is like a fortress. It's built for protection, for security, for survival. It is designed to keep you safe from harm, to keep you grounded in the reality of the world. And in many ways, this is exactly what you need. The mind sees the world in terms of cause and effect, risk and reward. It weighs decisions based on probabilities, previous experiences, and the cold, hard facts. When faced with a choice, the mind seeks to minimize danger and maximize benefit. It analyzes, it predicts, it plans. But there's a catch. The fortress, while protective, can also be limiting. It keeps the world at arm's length, keeping you in a space that feels safe, but sometimes too safe. The walls that the mind builds around you to protect you from risk can also keep you from experiencing the richness of life. The mind tells you that stability is the ultimate goal, that the predictable, the known, is where you'll find peace. It whispers that logical decisions will keep you safe and sound. And yet, sometimes, the very walls that shield you from pain also block you from the experiences that could bring you joy, love, or fulfillment. When the mind's logic reigns supreme, you may find yourself in a box of expectations, obligations, and shoulds. The mind builds a structured life, but without room for spontaneity, creativity, or the unknown. The fortress becomes a prison of certainty, where nothing is allowed to shake the foundation. The mind's fortress is invaluable when navigating practical aspects of life. But when it becomes the only voice you listen to, it can suffocate your spirit, pushing aside the desires of the heart that seek more meaning, more passion, more connection. When was the last time your mind told you to play it safe, even though your heart longed for something more? The heart's whispers. The heart, in contrast, is softer, quieter, but no less powerful. It speaks in whispers, gentle nudges that invite you to listen closely. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It simply feels. The heart knows no limits. It yearns for what feels true, what aligns with your deepest desires and values. It doesn't care about the consequences in the same way the mind does. It is concerned with authenticity, with following the call of your soul. Unlike the mind, which seeks safety and certainty, the heart craves connection, meaning, and fulfillment. It calls you to follow your passions, to take risks, to explore what excites you, even if you can't predict the outcome. It is often the heart that dreams of far-off places, adventures, and love that defies the odds. Yet the heart's whispers are easily drowned out by the louder, more insistent voice of the mind. The heart's desires often seem impractical, messy, and uncertain. How can you trust your heart when it leads you toward a path that feels so unpredictable? But the heart holds the truth of who you are. While the mind builds walls, the heart invites you to break free. It calls you to move beyond what is safe and comfortable, to step into a life that is authentically yours. The heart might not always have a clear roadmap, but it always knows what feels right. The heart speaks to you in moments of stillness, in the quiet space between thoughts. It is in the sigh of relief when you make a choice that feels true to you, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. It is in the joy that bubbles up when you act from a place of love, passion, and trust. The challenge, of course, is listening. When was the last time you heard your heart's whisper and chose to ignore it because the path seemed too uncertain or illogical? Chapter 3. The Dance of Cognitive Dissonance. When two truths collide. Cognitive dissonance is a force as invisible as it is powerful, a psychological friction that occurs when the truths we hold in our hearts collide with the truths we hold in our minds. It's that uncomfortable feeling you get when your actions contradict your beliefs, when what you do doesn't align with what you think. It's the mental discomfort that arises when the path your mind says is right clashes with the path your heart knows is true. Imagine this. You're in a relationship that you've been holding on to for far too long, even though deep down, you know it's no longer right for you. Your mind might tell you that love requires commitment, that you've invested too much to walk away, or that breaking up would hurt both you and your partner. But your heart, the quiet part of you that knows what's authentic, feels a growing discontent, a longing for something more. What you believe is not in sync with what you feel. This is cognitive dissonance. The mind and heart are often at odds, creating an emotional tug-of-war. The tension this causes is not simply psychological, it's physical too. You feel it in your chest, that tightness that won't let go. It's the voice in your head telling you to stay the course, while another part of you feels pulled in an entirely different direction. This clash between conflicting truths creates discomfort, but it's more than just discomfort. It's a wake-up call. It's your mind and heart trying to get your attention, asking you to reconcile what you know with what you feel. Cognitive dissonance doesn't always feel like a crisis. Sometimes it's subtle, a nagging sense that something doesn't quite fit. Other times, it's intense, almost unbearable. You might even rationalize your behavior, convincing yourself that the dissonance isn't a problem, that it's just a temporary discomfort. But deep down, you know that it's there, a sign that something needs to shift. Have you ever ignored the discomfort of cognitive dissonance, thinking it would resolve on its own, only to feel the inner tension grow stronger over time? The pull of our inner compass. Cognitive dissonance is more than just a source of discomfort. It's an invitation to change, to evolve, to align your actions with your values. It's the tug of your inner compass, the whisper of your heart telling you that your life is out of alignment with your truth. You might resist it at first. The mind has a way of clinging to what it knows, even if it's not serving you anymore. It offers logic, reason, and comfort in the face of uncertainty. The heart, on the other hand, calls for transformation, pushing you to reconsider, to dig deeper, and to move towards something that feels truer to who you really are. When cognitive dissonance arises, it's often because your heart is trying to guide you back to a deeper truth. The discomfort you feel isn't the problem. It's the signal that something is out of balance. It's your heart urging you to listen. It's telling you that your actions no longer align with your values, your passion, or your authenticity. And while it might feel uncomfortable, that discomfort is often the catalyst for growth. Consider the times when you felt the pull of your inner compass, a call to do something bold, something that defies logic. It might have been the decision to leave a job that no longer fulfilled you, to move to a new city, to end a toxic relationship, or to pursue a dream that seemed impossible. In those moments, cognitive dissonance was your guide, pushing you to reevaluate your choices and move in a direction that felt more aligned with your true self. The beauty of cognitive dissonance is that it creates space for self-awareness. It forces you to question what you've believed to be true and to consider new possibilities. The discomfort is a reflection of the growth that's happening within you. It's not something to avoid, but something to embrace. What if you began to view the tension of cognitive dissonance not as a problem, but as an opportunity to reconnect with your true desires and values? The freedom in reconciliation. The goal of cognitive dissonance is not to remain in tension forever, but to find resolution, the freedom that comes when the mind and heart finally work in harmony. When you stop resisting and start embracing both the logic of the mind and the wisdom of the heart, a powerful shift occurs. Reconciliation doesn't mean that you always choose the heart's desires over the mind's logic. It's about finding balance. It's about recognizing when your mind has become too rigid and your heart too reckless. It's about learning to integrate both forces so that you can make decisions that align with who you truly are. Decisions that come from a place of both clarity and passion. This reconciliation brings peace. The friction fades. The tension that once felt paralyzing gives way to a deeper sense of freedom. No longer do you feel torn between two opposing forces. You begin to see that both the mind and the heart have valuable roles to play. The mind provides structure, safety, and discernment. The heart provides passion, intuition, and authenticity. Think of a time when you were able to reconcile the mind and heart within yourself. Maybe it was a decision that, at first, seemed difficult and confusing, but as you listened to both sides, allowed yourself to feel and think without judgment, the decision became clear. You moved forward with confidence, knowing that you weren't abandoning one part of yourself for another, but were embracing the wisdom of both. The true freedom comes when you realize that cognitive dissonance isn't something to fear or avoid, but something to welcome. It's an invitation to step into a fuller version of yourself, to make choices that align with your deeper truth, and to feel at peace in the process. The delicate balance between mind and heart is a lifelong one. But when you learn to embrace both, you find that peace isn't the absence of tension. It's the harmony that arises when the tension is resolved. What if the discomfort you feel when your mind and heart are at odds was not something to run from, but something to explore? The fear of living fully. The most paralyzing fear is not the fear of failure. It's the fear of living authentically. It's the fear of exposing your rawness to the world and realizing that in doing so, you might not be accepted. The heart knows that to truly live is to allow yourself to be seen, not as a perfect, polished version, but as a flawed, beautiful, real person with all your messiness and imperfection. But the mind, fearful of judgment and rejection, puts up walls to protect you from that vulnerability. To live fully is to surrender the need for approval and embrace the discomfort of being seen. It's allowing your dreams to rise above the limiting beliefs that keep you small. It's about walking through life with your heart open, your truth unguarded, even when your mind tells you it's too risky. Because deep down, you know that without this full expression of yourself, you're only half living. The mind will always seek to keep you safe, but safety never brought anyone to greatness. Are you hiding behind a mask of logic, fearing what others might think of your true self? What would it feel like to let that mask fall away and embrace your unfiltered truth? Chapter 4. Navigating the intersection of emotion and logic. Emotional intelligence. A bridge between two worlds. In the struggle between mind and heart, there's a place where both can coexist. A space where emotion and logic don't just collide, but come together to create something more profound. This space is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EI, is the ability to understand, manage, and harness both our own emotions and the emotions of others. It's a skill that allows us to navigate the emotional complexities of life while still being grounded in the rational world of logic and reason. When we develop EI, we create a bridge between the heart's desires and the mind's logic. But what exactly does emotional intelligence look like in practice? At its core, EI is about self-awareness, recognizing the emotions you're feeling and understanding why they're there. It's about self-regulation, being able to manage those emotions in a way that aligns with your values and goals. It's about empathy, understanding the emotions of others and how they impact your relationships. And importantly, it's about emotional reasoning, the ability to use your emotions to inform your decisions without letting them control or overwhelm you. When you develop emotional intelligence, you create space between the heart's impulses and the mind's calculations. You allow yourself to feel deeply, but also give yourself the clarity to think rationally. Emotional intelligence isn't about silencing the emotions. It's about learning to use them as a tool, a guide, rather than allowing them to drive you without direction. Think of it this way. Your heart is the compass. Your mind is the map. Emotional intelligence is what allows you to read the map and follow the compass. It's the delicate art of combining feeling with thinking, ensuring that neither takes control without the other's guidance. When have you been able to pause and understand your emotions instead of reacting impulsively? How did that help you navigate a challenging situation? When emotions become the compass. There's a misconception that emotions are inherently irrational. That's because we're often taught to distrust them, to see them as unpredictable and chaotic. But emotions are not inherently problematic. In fact, they can be a powerful compass, guiding us toward decisions that reflect our deepest values and desires. Consider how you feel when something aligns with your core beliefs. When you make a choice that resonates with your authentic self, there's a sense of calm, a sense of rightness that accompanies it. That's your emotions, your heart, informing your decision. But there's a catch. Emotions, like any compass, can mislead us if we don't pay attention. Just as a compass can be thrown off by external forces, emotions can be distorted by past experiences, fears, or external pressures. So, while emotions can point us in the right direction, we must learn to listen carefully to their messages, using them as a guide rather than allowing them to dictate our every move. Emotions can also act as early warning systems. When something feels off, there's usually an emotional reaction that signals it. Anxiety, discomfort, or excitement are all ways our emotions tell us that something in our environment doesn't align with our true self or our values. The key is in balance. Emotions are like the wind. They guide, they inspire. But if we let them blow us off course, we risk losing direction. When emotions are harnessed with emotional intelligence, they provide us with invaluable insight into who we are and what we truly want. without the chaos of unchecked impulse. So, when emotions rise, instead of pushing them down or letting them overpower you, ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? What does it reveal about my desires or my needs right now? Can you recall a time when a strong emotion guided you toward a decision that ultimately felt right, even though the path seemed unclear at first? The calm after the storm. The beauty of emotional intelligence is that it doesn't force us to choose between emotion and logic. Rather, it allows us to reconcile the two, leading us to a place of clarity, a sense of calm after the emotional storm has passed. When we allow ourselves to feel fully, when we give space to our emotions and understand their role, we create room for the mind to process and make informed, logical decisions. It's like standing in the eye of a storm, where the chaos of emotions is swirling around you, but you are still grounded, calm, and cantered. This is the power of emotional intelligence. In decision-making, emotional intelligence helps us discern when to act on the heart's desires and when to lean on the mind's logic. When emotions are high, it's easy to make rash decisions. But when we pause, reflect, and allow both the heart and mind to speak, the path forward becomes clear. This clarity comes not from silencing the emotions, but from allowing them to coexist with reason. The heart gives us the what, the desires, the dreams, the passions. The mind gives us the how, the strategies, the plans, the actions. And when these two forces align, the storm calms, and we are left with a clear, purposeful direction. Imagine the next time you face a decision. Instead of feeling torn between emotion and logic, you allow them to work together. The emotions inform you of what you truly want, and the logic helps you figure out how to make it happen. You move forward with a sense of calm, clarity, and alignment. When was the last time you were able to quiet the emotional storm within you, listen to both your mind and your heart, and make a decision that felt truly aligned with who you are? The power of a single choice. We often think of life as a series of grand decisions, forks in the road that determine our future. But the most powerful choices are not always the big, obvious ones. Sometimes it's a single, seemingly insignificant moment of clarity when your heart and mind align, just one choice to trust, one choice to step into the unknown, one choice to move forward. These are the moments that shape our destiny in ways that the mind cannot fathom. It's in these small choices that our entire lives can change. The choice to speak up when you feel small. The choice to leave what's comfortable and take a risk. The choice to follow your passion even when everyone else doubts it. In a moment, you can step into a new life. A life that is more authentic, more aligned with who you are, more filled with purpose. And when you look back, you'll realize that this was the turning point. The moment when everything began to shift. Think of the moments in your life where one simple decision changed everything. What would your life look like if you listened to your heart more often, trusted your intuition more deeply? Chapter 5. Heartfelt decisions in a world of expectations. The weight of other people's voices. From the moment we're born, we are surrounded by voices telling us who we should be, what we should do, and how we should live. Society tells us the right career to pursue, the perfect relationships to have, and the acceptable paths to take. Parents, teachers, friends, everyone seems to have an opinion about what's best for us. But what happens when those voices drown out the one voice that matters most? Our own. The weight of other people's voices is heavy. It's an invisible burden we carry, often without realizing it. Over time, these voices shape our beliefs, influence our decisions, and dictate the course of our lives, until we forget who we are beneath all of the expectations. You might be following a career path that makes everyone else happy, but leaves you unfulfilled. You may have settled into a relationship because it makes sense, even though your heart whispers that something is missing. Or perhaps you're living a life that looks perfect on the outside but feels hollow on the inside. Why does this happen? Because the world outside of us is loud, constantly telling us what to do, what to say, and who to become. The pressure to conform, to meet expectations, can be overwhelming. And in the process, we start to believe that our value lies in meeting these external standards, not in living true to ourselves. But what if you could silence those external voices, even just for a moment, and listen to your own? What if you could tune out the noise of the world and hear the quiet whispers of your heart? What would it feel like to reclaim your true voice, to make decisions that reflect who you truly are, rather than who the world expects you to be? This chapter is about reclaiming that voice. It's about breaking free from the weight of societal expectations and rediscovering what truly matters to you. It's about learning to trust your inner wisdom and give yourself permission to live authentically. When was the last time you made a decision that was truly yours, one that wasn't influenced by others, but by your own heart and mind? Breaking free from shoulds. One of the most powerful tools the world uses to keep us in line is the should statement. You should get a stable job. You should marry young. You should make money. You should fit in. These shoulds dictate our lives, often leading us away from our true desires and toward a life of obligation. The word should carries with it a weight of expectation, one that we often place on ourselves. We say it to ourselves daily. I should be further along in my career by now. I should be more successful, more stable, more accomplished. We say it because we've been conditioned to believe that we are not enough as we are, that we must meet a certain standard in order to be worthy. But what if those shoulds are just someone else's story? What if they're not your story at all? Breaking free from should is an act of self-liberation. It means challenging the narrative that has been imposed on us and questioning whether the life we're living is the one we truly want. When we let go of the shoulds, we open ourselves to the possibility of a life that aligns with our own truth. This process doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes courage. It involves questioning the very foundation of what we've been told we should do and choosing instead to listen to our own desires. It's about letting go of the fear that we won't be accepted or loved if we don't conform to society's expectations. In the absence of shoulds, we can begin to hear our own heart's desires clearly. We can start to build a life that feels truly ours, not one that was dictated by someone else's blueprint. Think about the last time you used the word should in relation to yourself. What would happen if you replaced that should with want? Living authentically in a world of noise. We live in a world that's louder than ever before. Social media, news cycles, advertisements, well-meaning family members, colleagues, and even friends bombard us with their opinions. In this constant barrage of external influence, it's easy to lose touch with our inner voice, the one that speaks softly but knows exactly what we need. To live authentically in a world of noise means learning how to quiet the distractions and tune into the whispers of your heart. It's about turning down the volume on the external world and turning up the volume on your own inner wisdom. Living authentically isn't about following a particular set of rules or a prescribed life path. It's about recognizing what feels true to you and choosing to honor that, no matter how unconventional or different it may seem to others. This process requires self-awareness. It requires learning to listen, not just to your thoughts, but to the deeper, quieter voice within you that holds your desires, values, and truth. The external world will always be loud, but that doesn't mean we have to let it dictate our lives. It just means we need to get better at listening to ourselves, even when the world is shouting. The truth is, it's easy to conform, to follow the path of least resistance. But what happens when you start to live authentically? What happens when you start to trust your heart, even in the face of judgment, fear, or uncertainty? Living authentically brings clarity. It brings peace. It brings a sense of deep fulfillment that comes from knowing you are honoring your true self, not someone else's version of who you should be. When you think about living authentically, what does that look like for you? How can you begin to tune out the external noise and tune into your own heart's truth? The space between heartbeats. There is a quiet, sacred space between every heartbeat, a place where time slows down, where the noise of the world fades, and where only the most essential things matter. It is in these pauses, in the stillness, where we can finally hear both the mind and the heart in perfect alignment. Here, there are no decisions to be made, no noise to drown out, no distractions. It's just you, fully present, living in the moment. But how often do we rush through life too busy to experience the pause? Too afraid of silence, of stillness, of the unknown that lies in the space between. And yet, it's in this space that our true essence can be felt. It's in this quiet moment that we realize that both heart and mind are not separate. They are parts of the same whole, working together to create a life that is full of meaning. What would it feel like to stop and fully experience the space between your heartbeats? How might the world shift if you allowed yourself to be in the silence, without rushing to fill it with thoughts or distractions? Chapter 6. Embracing uncertainty, when the mind and heart don't agree. The fear of the unknown. It's natural to fear the unknown. The mind, in all its logical wisdom, thrives on predictability and control. It's always seeking patterns, trying to avoid risk, and constantly calculating the potential dangers ahead. The unknown, by its very nature, is the opposite of control. It is unpredictable, messy, and often daunting. And yet, it is in this space of uncertainty that the heart calls us to venture. When the heart nudges us towards something new, whether it's a change in career, a move to a new place, or a leap into a relationship, we often feel an intense pull toward it. But alongside that pull, there's fear. Fear that we might fail. Fear that we might not be able to handle what's ahead. Fear that the leap might lead us further away from the comfort and safety of what we know. The mind, in response to this fear, creates stories. It tells us about the worst-case scenarios, about how everything could go wrong. It tries to protect us, to keep us from taking risks that could potentially bring pain or failure. The mind says, stay safe. Don't stray too far from what you know. But the heart, often quieter but more persistent, says, trust me. The unknown holds opportunities that can't be found in the safety of the known. You will learn, grow, and become more than you were before. In these moments, the tension between the mind and the heart becomes palpable. The heart wants us to take a leap, to trust that the journey will bring us what we need. The mind, however, keeps us rooted in fear, telling us that the risks are too great and the unknown too dangerous. What would it be like to quiet the fear for just a moment and listen to what the heart is saying? The strength of uncertainty. Uncertainty is not a force that should be feared. It is a force that should be embraced. While the mind clings to the need for answers, certainty, and security, the heart understands that growth is found not in the familiar, but in the unknown. Uncertainty is where we step out of our comfort zones. It is where new paths are forged, where new ideas are born, and where the deepest lessons are learned. When we enter the unknown, we are forced to rely on trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in the process, and trust in the journey. This trust is the bedrock of self-discovery. In the uncertainty of life, we are invited to redefine our boundaries, explore new possibilities, and create the life we desire. Without uncertainty, we would never grow. It is in those moments of doubt, of not knowing what's coming next, that we are most alive. Our mind tries to protect us from these feelings, to keep us safe and small, but the heart knows that in those spaces of uncertainty lies our greatest potential. The paradox is this: the more we fear uncertainty, the more we limit our growth. The more we embrace uncertainty, the more we open ourselves to unexpected blessings and new beginnings. Uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the doorway to a life that is truly lived, a life in which we are constantly evolving, learning, and becoming. Think about a time when uncertainty led to something unexpected and beautiful. What if you allowed yourself to embrace uncertainty more fully? Chapter 7. Choosing the Unseen Path. History is full of stories of people who followed their hearts into the unknown, choosing paths that were uncertain, unconventional, and even dangerous. And often, these were the paths that led them to greatness. The quiet battles within. A few examples of the flow between heart and mind. The love versus logic battle. A man stands at a crossroads, a soft weight on his chest, feeling the quiet pull of something deeper. He's in love, and there's something about this person, a feeling, a presence, that makes everything seem just a little clearer, a little warmer. But the mind, ever cautious, starts to speak in its usual way, pointing out the practical things. There are concerns, small doubts, the ones that always seem to appear at moments like this, and logic murmurs, "This might not be wise. Is this the right time? What about your future?" Still, there's a quiet warmth that lingers, something in the air between them, like a soft conversation that doesn't need words. Love, it seems, is never without its edges, but there's something real about it. It isn't always neat or perfect, yet it carries its own quiet truth. The mind brings up risks, past experience, the weight of expectations, but somewhere, almost unnoticed, is the sense that the moments between them feel genuine, tender. And in those quiet spaces, the heart seems to know that, sometimes, love is simply about the feeling, not about making it all fit together. It doesn't demand perfection, doesn't ask for answers, only for a chance to be present, to share without needing to control. The future is uncertain, yes, but there's something about this moment, something about what they share, that feels different. The mind might still have its questions. What if it doesn't last? The uncertainty lingers. But there's a small part that understands, in the quiet, that perhaps the fear of not experiencing it at all is more than the fear of what might come. And as the thoughts settle, he realizes that some moments are meant to be felt, not analyzed. The freedom versus responsibility. Struggle. Imagine a mother holding her children close, her love for them overflowing. She wants to give them everything, her attention, her care, her protection. Her heart beats with the rhythm of their well-being, of wanting them to feel loved and safe. But beneath that love, there's an ever-present weight, a quiet pressure that comes from all the things she feels she must do. The mind speaks softly but insistently. You need to work harder. You need to push through. The bills are waiting. The house needs attention. The career must move forward. There's no time to pause, no time to rest. But as the days pass, the heart, tired but steady, whispers a quiet plea. You need a moment, just for you, to breathe, to be still. You need to reconnect with the part of you that isn't just a caregiver, but a person. The heart doesn't ask for much, just a quiet space to feel whole again. A gentle reminder that somewhere beneath the rush of everyday life, she too has needs that go beyond tasks, beyond duties. But then, the weight of guilt settles in. You can't be selfish, the mind reminds her. There's always something more to be done. You have to be everything for everyone. The heart, though, isn't asking for perfection. It's not asking for grand gestures. It's asking for something simple, something real. Rest. A reminder that to care for others, she must first care for herself, that in finding her own peace, she finds the strength to give more freely. The mind may have its list of responsibilities, its shoulds, but the heart knows that it is not weakness to rest. It is not selfish to reclaim pieces of yourself. It is the quiet strength needed to continue with grace. It is the gentle balance between being there for others and being there for yourself. And sometimes, just sometimes, that quiet balance is all that's needed to feel whole again. The career versus passion dilemma. Imagine a successful lawyer, steadily climbing the corporate ladder, surrounded by the trappings of success, a six-figure salary, a prestigious title, and a future that promises security. To the world, everything appears flawless. But inside, there's a quiet, persistent whisper. Is this what you truly want? Is this where your heart feels at home? The mind speaks with logic, reassuring her. You've done everything by the book. Education, career advancement, financial stability. This is what success looks like. It urges her to keep moving forward. You've worked so hard. Why walk away now? But the heart pulls her in a different direction. It longs for something more, a creative outlet, a way to touch lives through art or teaching, a chance to use her voice in a way that truly matters. Fear creeps in, of course. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and above all, the quiet terror of letting go of the status that the mind has worked so tirelessly to build. The heart knows what it needs, but the mind is calculating, weighing every possible risk, considering what would be lost in the process of starting fresh. The heart, though, is not concerned with the comfort of what has been achieved. It longs for something that feels alive, something that stirs the soul. Meanwhile, the mind, protective and practical, remains focused on securing a future built on stability. One is driven by a sense of legacy, the idea of what will be remembered. The other is driven by a quest for meaning, the quiet knowing that success is not just measured in titles or income, but in how deeply life is lived. This delicate dance is a daily tug-of-war between the safety of a familiar path and the wild freedom of passion. The heart wants to soar, but the mind wants to shield and preserve. The heart asks for authenticity, the mind seeks security. The marriage versus self-fulfillment. Struggle. Imagine a woman waking up beside her partner each morning, moving through the routine of her day, working, caring, managing life. On the surface, everything seems fine. The house is warm, the children are happy, and the life they've built together is stable. But underneath, there's a quiet ache, something that can't quite be placed, but feels like a soft, persistent pull. It's not loud. It doesn't scream or demand attention. It's a feeling that lingers at the edges of her thoughts, like an unspoken question. Is this all there is? Am I really here? Or have I just become another role? She's built a life, worked hard for it, and she's proud of what she's created. But as the years go by, the parts of her that used to sparkle, that once felt alive with possibility, have started to fade. There's a longing now, subtle but constant, for something more than just routine. It's a desire to feel seen, to feel special in a way that's not about being needed or required, but wanted in the most personal, deep way. The mind tries to quiet the thoughts, urging her to focus on what she has. You've done everything right. This is what stability looks like. What more could you possibly want? But the heart, though silent, speaks in a way she can't ignore. It craves more than just presence. It craves connection, not out of obligation, but because it needs to know that it matters, that it's cherished, not just for the roles it plays, but for the person it is. Guilt creeps in like a shadow. You can't just look for yourself, whispers the mind. You have responsibilities. You can't be selfish. The idea of taking time for herself feels almost like betrayal, not of her partner, but of everything she's worked to build. But still, the heart whispers again. It doesn't ask for grand gestures or declarations. It asks for recognition, for the chance to feel important beyond the needs of others. It asks for something soft and real, a moment to feel desired, not as a caretaker, not as a partner, but as a whole person, beautiful and worthy of attention just as she is. The mind fights back, ever practical. What would that even look like? But somewhere beneath the doubt, the heart knows. The desire to feel seen, to feel alive and valued, is not a luxury. It is a part of being whole, of living authentically in a world that often demands so much. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to claim that for herself. When we choose the unseen path, we choose to live authentically. We choose to honor the desires of our heart, even if they lead us into uncertainty. We trust that, in the end, our journey will bring us exactly where we need to be. What would it look like for you to follow your heart into the unknown, to trust that the path ahead will lead you to exactly where you need to be? The courage to let go of logic. Logic has its place. It gives us structure, direction, and safety. But sometimes, logic becomes a cage. It tells us that what we want is impractical, that our dreams are too big, that we should settle for less. It seeks to protect us, yes, but it also holds us back. To truly follow the heart means to risk the unknown, to step into a space that can't be measured or predicted, and this takes courage. The courage to follow your heart is the courage to let go of the comforting, predictable world of logic and embrace the wild unknown. It's saying yes to the journey, even when the destination is unclear, even when the path is not laid out before you. It's trusting that something greater than logic is guiding you, something that is beyond understanding but still deeply felt. What would it take for you to trust your heart in a world that demands logic and certainty? How would your life shift if you chose courage over comfort? Chapter 8. The Healing Power of Alignment. The Peace in Listening to Both. Alignment doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of listening, understanding, and finding the common ground between the heart's desires and the mind's logic. When the heart and mind are at odds, life can feel like a constant struggle. We feel torn between what we should do and what we want to do, and this inner conflict creates stress, doubt, and confusion. But what happens when we take the time to truly listen to both sides? When we listen to both the heart and the mind, we open ourselves to the possibility of alignment. Instead of forcing one to dominate the other, we create space for both to be heard. The mind can offer logic and structure, while the heart can bring passion and authenticity. By embracing both, we begin to move toward a place of peace. Imagine for a moment, you're faced with a decision, big or small. Your heart wants one thing, but your mind insists on something else. You take a breath and pause. Instead of rushing to make a decision, you sit with both voices, your heart's desires and your mind's reasoning. You allow them to speak without judgment, and in that space, something shifts. You realize that the decision doesn't have to be a battle between the two, it can be a union. The peace that comes from listening to both is profound. It's the peace of no longer feeling divided, no longer needing to choose one over the other. It's the peace of alignment, where heart and mind are no longer opposing forces, but complementary ones. In these moments of alignment, the inner conflict dissolves. The tension that once felt unbearable gives way to a deep sense of calm. We no longer feel pulled in two directions. We feel whole. Can you recall a time when you stopped fighting between your heart and mind and allowed both to be heard? How did that shift in perspective bring you peace? When heart and mind are in harmony. The true magic of alignment lies in the harmony between the heart and mind. When these two forces are in sync, the benefits are undeniable. The first benefit is peace, inner peace, the kind that comes from knowing you are living in congruence with your true self. When heart and mind are in harmony, decisions come more easily. The noise of inner conflict fades, and the path forward becomes clear. You feel grounded, confident, and sure of yourself, even in the face of uncertainty. This clarity allows you to move through life with a sense of purpose, free from the doubt and confusion that once clouded your decisions. In addition to peace and clarity, alignment brings a deeper sense of confidence. When you are aligned, your decisions are not second-guessed. There is no longer the need to question whether you are doing the right thing. The heart and mind have come together, and their combined wisdom guides you forward with conviction. The confidence that comes from alignment is not born of arrogance, but of trust. Trust in yourself, in your decisions, and in the path you are walking. But alignment also brings purpose. When heart and mind work in harmony, life feels intentional. Each step you take is aligned with your values and desires, and each decision reflects the essence of who you truly are. There is no longer a sense of living by default or following someone else's script. Instead, you live with a deep awareness of your own needs, goals, and desires, moving forward with purpose and direction. This harmony doesn't mean that life becomes perfect. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges or tough decisions. But it does mean that when those challenges arise, you are better equipped to handle them with clarity, confidence, and peace. What would it feel like to live in harmony with both your heart and mind? How would your decisions shift if you felt truly aligned in every aspect of your life? Moving forward with intent. Once alignment is achieved, the next step is moving forward with intent. The peace and clarity that come from heart-mind harmony create a solid foundation from which you can build. But the key now is not to rest on your laurels or let the alignment fade into complacency. The power of alignment is most potent when it's put into action. Moving forward with intent means taking the lessons of inner alignment and using them to guide your actions. It means no longer reacting to life passively, but instead choosing each step with purpose. When your heart and mind are aligned, every decision you make is a conscious choice, a step in the direction of your authentic self. Living with intent also means setting clear intentions for the future. It means knowing what you want, why you want it, and how you are going to get it. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. Intentional living is about shaping your life from the inside out, not letting external circumstances dictate your direction. As you move forward with intent, remember that alignment doesn't guarantee a straight path. Life is full of twists and turns, but when you live with heart-mind harmony, those twists no longer feel like setbacks. They are part of the journey, steps that bring you closer to who you're becoming. Intentional living also requires self-awareness. The more you tune into your inner voice, the more you can align your actions with your true desires. And as you continue to walk the path of alignment, you'll find that your life unfolds in ways that are surprising, fulfilling, and deeply connected to who you are. What would it look like for you to live with clear intent, making each decision from a place of heart-mind alignment? How can you begin to bring more intention into your daily life? The journey from doubt to trust. Doubt is a natural response to uncertainty. It is the mind's way of keeping us safe, of ensuring that we don't make a wrong move. But doubt, when unchecked, becomes a barrier to growth, a wall between us and the life we desire. It keeps us stuck, paralyzed, forever questioning if we are making the right choice. But the journey from doubt to trust is where the real magic happens. It's the moment you choose to step forward, not because you have all the answers, but because you believe in yourself. It's the act of trusting the process, of letting go of control, and of surrendering to the wisdom of your heart. Trusting yourself is not the absence of doubt. It's the courage to move through it, knowing that the path ahead will reveal itself in time. What does it take to move from doubt to trust? What would it feel like to have unwavering faith in yourself, even when the outcome is uncertain? Chapter 9. A lifelong journey of balance. The endless flow. Balance between the mind and heart is not a one-time achievement. It is an endless flow, a continuous flow of giving and receiving, understanding and letting go. Just as we move through life with both reason and emotion, The balance between these two forces shifts, adapts, and evolves over time. In the beginning, when we first try to find balance, it may feel like a tug of war, our heart pulling us one way, our mind holding us back. But as we learn to listen more deeply to both, we begin to realize that balance isn't about controlling either one, but about allowing them to move together in harmony. It's important to remember that this balance is not static. Life is full of changes, surprises, and challenges that will call for different responses from the heart and mind. Some days, the heart will take the lead, and other days, the mind will guide the way. Both are essential, and both are valid. The goal isn't to make one dominant over the other, but to allow them to lead when needed, and to know when to let the other take the reins. Just as the flow of life itself is constantly shifting, so too is the flow between heart and mind. It will change as we grow, as we learn, and as we encounter new experiences. And the beauty of this flow lies in its imperfection. There is no perfect balance. There is only the flow, the constant ebb and rise of heart and mind moving together, guiding us through life's twists and turns. The key is not to expect perfection, but to embrace the process, the flow itself. When you think of the balance between mind and heart, what does that flow look like to you? How do you move with the rhythm of both forces in your own life? Your inner compass. As we come to the end of this journey together, remember that you have an inner compass. This compass is your ability to tune into your heart's desires and your mind's wisdom, guiding you through life's decisions. It is always with you, even when the path feels unclear. Your inner compass is built from self-awareness, the ability to recognize the subtle messages of both your heart and mind. The more you cultivate this self-awareness, the more attuned you become to the inner guidance that leads you toward what feels true for you. In everyday decisions, your compass is always there, ready to offer direction. Whether it's choosing a new path, making a tough choice, or navigating conflict, you can turn inward and ask, what does my heart say? What does my mind advise? By listening to both, you will find that the right decision becomes clearer. But remember, this compass is not a one-time tool. It's a continuous practice. It requires mindfulness, patience, and trust. It requires you to stop, reflect, and truly listen to both parts of yourself. Over time, this practice will become second nature, and you'll find yourself navigating life's challenges with a sense of confidence and peace, knowing that your heart and mind are guiding you in unison. How can you begin to listen to your inner compass more intentionally in your daily life? What small steps can you take to cultivate self-awareness in each decision you make? Trusting yourself. The final note of this journey is this: trust yourself. Trust that both your heart and mind are wise, and trust that they are working together to guide you in the right direction. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question your choices or second-guess your path. But in these moments, remember that you have been given the gift of inner wisdom, the ability to find balance, to trust both heart and mind, and to move forward with clarity. When we trust ourselves, we trust that both our emotions and logic are part of a bigger picture. We trust that even when we don't have all the answers, we have the capacity to navigate uncertainty. We trust that the flow between mind and heart, though imperfect, is leading us exactly where we need to go. Trust is not always easy, especially when life's challenges seem overwhelming. But remember, you have the tools within you. You have the ability to find peace in the tension between mind and heart. You have the strength to trust yourself through the unknown. And you have the wisdom to move forward with intention, knowing that the path ahead is yours to shape. In the end, the journey is not about achieving perfect balance, but about continually learning to trust yourself in each moment. Trust that you have everything you need to navigate the complexities of life, and trust that both your mind and heart are working together to show you the way. What would it feel like to fully trust yourself in every decision, big or small? How can you build more trust in both your mind and heart moving forward? As we conclude this journey of exploring the heart and mind, remember, balance is a lifelong practice. It is a dynamic, evolving flow that requires constant attention, reflection, and trust. But with each step you take, you become more aligned with your true self, more in tune with your inner wisdom, and more confident in your ability to navigate life's complexities. Trust in yourself, trust in your heart, trust in your mind, and know that as you continue this lifelong journey, you are never alone. You are always guided by your own inner compass.